Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And as always, we'll start with EVE Online where, well, for how busy my week was, I think I still played a fair amount of EVE Online, focusing on exploration, my favorite activity in general, and especially my favorite activity when I don't have a lot of energy. So that's what I did. A couple of nice rounds, I would say, around the Tull, with some 4 out of 10, some 3 out of 10, some escalations as well. I found quite a decent amount of data sites, and those are still doing amazingly well in my opinion for the amount of time now with the micro drive that my Ishtar needs to spend in those. I get really a nice amount of ISK out of it, so a couple of containers with like 2 million in it. Very nice. So overall, yeah, still a very good experience when it comes to exploration, and yeah, if you're lucky a little bit with some of the drops, it really makes your week in just one good side. So I like it, and it was going pretty well. Next to that, I also did a couple of conduits, even a couple with my brother, so I'm trying to get him into the new content as well. He uses the Minmatar battleship, the Typhoon, and I went in with my rattlesnake, so we were quite comfortably able to run these conduits without any real problem. We included the looting and the salvaging. Well, we both have salvage drones, so we can do it in a decent amount of time, but this was not the race for like the best possible time or anything like that. It was just casually getting some extra loyalty points to slowly work my way up to the final implant for the mid-grade set, which is what I'm building. There's now a high-grade set that is out, or that should be coming out this winter. Gonna be probably super expensive, even better of course, but not a clone that you want to lose. So I think with the mid grades I will take a look at the Triglavian ships, because I'm also training for the battle cruiser at this point. Definitely something that I want to try out as well. So lots of people have actually been saying that it works just as well to go in with the battle cruiser, and it's a much smaller hull than all of the faction battleships that I'm using at the moment. So looking forward to that as well, but it's at a pretty slow and steady pace, so I have not really been able to take part in the new content. It must be said, the new observatories, where you have 2 paths to take, whether you help the Triglavians or you help the empires, that's up to you, but it's really group content. It's focused on a more organized group to handle these, and so I haven't touched them at this point. As far as I can tell, I've seen a couple of runs of these. It doesn't punish you for fighting against the empires, or you don't get any special rewards either for choosing the Triglavian sites at this point. Perhaps there is something, of course, that is being kept behind the scenes, so that, you know, you might get like some extra stuff. I know that people that do really deep dives into the Abyss, go into the very hardest content, then sometimes have a unique drop, which then means that they receive mails, in-game mails from the Triglavian collective, which is really cool, of course. So there might be an angle like that. Understandable in my opinion, though. They don't want to start to like punish people for helping the Triglavians while they're living in a Mars base, for instance. So overall, it looks like it's just an added layer of complexity, and I am personally waiting for the next parts in the storyline to see where all of that is going, because I would love, of course, to learn more about the Triglavians. I think that yeah, it's still on the books for them to become the 5th race, fully fleshed out, all types of ships, maybe even structures and things like that. So it's really looking that way, and I think the story is going to evolve as well. So hopefully we'll get some cool stuff that we can interact with. I would love for the good old live events to come back, where some dev actors, you know, take control of some characters in really super powerful ships, play out a bit of a scenario, and then, you know, the story progresses that way in a rather unique way, that can then be joined by, well, those that are first, of course, and that after that can maybe be covered by videos from CCP themselves or from the players. It always felt like a really cool way to develop the storyline, and I kind of miss those myself. But yeah, that was my last week in EVE Online. Looking forward to what's coming next, of course, as always. And next we have the only other game that I managed to find some time for last week, which is the Darkest Dungeon. At a slower pace at this point, probably 1 to 2 dungeons every evening, just to keep the game alive, just to try and make a little bit of progress. Basically, I feel like I'm in a bit of a grinding mode at this point, trying to get enough gold, trying to get enough of these heirlooms to unlock everything in all the buildings. It is quite a bit of work, but I think you have to do it if you're going to try to tackle the most difficult content in the Darkest Dungeon. So I'm trying to basically get the team ready that I think I wanna take in there. Although in like a mid-grade team, my experience with a full stun team has been pretty amazing. If all of them can use stun abilities that can cover all of the spots that the enemies can take, that does give you a pretty massive advantage. I also managed to get my brother into the game. He bought it for like a 70% discount as well, and he says that the Jester is really nice as well to play with because he can de-stress the team. So basically the way he's running it at the moment when it comes to his farming, I think, is that he uses the Jesters and then he basically does runs to de-stress his heroes rather than putting them into services in order to get rid of stress. He just, alright, we're gonna go on another adventure, but this time with the Jester he focuses fully on de-stressing, and he says that he actually manages to get them really low on stress after a pretty easy run for them as well. So it's a very, very cool game in my opinion. You could say that it's RNG heavy, but all the stats are very clear, so you know exactly what you're getting into. The Cove and the first dungeons, not sure what it's called, against mostly skeletons, are by far the easiest ones because, well, they're all subject to blight, which I feel is very powerful, and in the Cove you can also bleed them, so overall, well, you get a lower chance to bleed, but skeletons are immune to that, so it does make a big difference. They don't have too much HP, so if you want to do some farming, I think you can definitely focus on that. And what I'm doing is basically, building up all of the services, all of the buildings in town, just to try and get a team with best armor, best abilities, everything that you can think of. Haven't really had too much success with the blueprints because getting those blue shards things doesn't go very fast for me at this point, so I'll need to explore the farmstead a little bit more as well. But overall, great game, pretty demanding game, but it said so right up front. I think if you want to get to that very end game, even on the easy mode, it does require you to put quite a bit of effort in. And so at this point, I'm just trying to keep it alive, trying to do a couple dungeons every evenings. But I must admit that I'm also pretty much ready for maybe something else to play. So we'll see how that works out. But for now, that was my last week in games. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.